The Warriors have played 17 games and they are now 9-8. Good for the 8th seed. They are a play-in team. They are now 4-8 on the road. They are the definition of a mediocre team. It was announced pretty early that Steph Curry would miss this game due to ankle soreness, but then Jimmy Butler somehow also would end up missing this game. And it's just kind of incredible to me how willing this team, Steve Kerr, is willing to just throw games. All of this is going to make it very hard for the Warriors to be true contenders this season. As of right now, they are nothing close to a contending team. And that is the reality of the situation. As long as Steve Kerr has control and is running small lineups all day and night, on top of all the goofy things he does on the offensive end of the floor, where he runs an offense that prioritizes nobody and everybody just has to run around all day, and then somebody has to burp up a random shot that wasn't a play that was designed for them at all. Personally, I enjoy watching dominant basketball, and it just doesn't feel like we're gonna get that anytime soon. So the next best thing that we can do is analyze the roster and see who belongs on this team and who doesn't. So we'll go over who are the viable pieces for the Warriors, who are not, and what happened in this Heat game, where the Warriors were competitive for a chunk of this game. We'll go over why that is as well, and if that sounds good to you, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and that like button so that this video gets out to all the Warriors fans out there. Let's get straight to it. So when the starting lineup was announced, I was agitated because Quinten Post once again got jobbed. He wasn't in the starting lineup on a night where a bunch of the starters were missing. TJD, who's not even in rotation when everybody is healthy, is suddenly starting over Quinten Post. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Quinten Post has done nothing but provide great play at the center spot for the Warriors, especially as an anchor on the defensive end of the floor. His reward? Get pushed to the end of the bench, take a seat in favor of rookie Will Richard so that the Warriors can run a dumb small lineup to start games. What an injustice it is that Quinten Post worked so hard on his body, on his game over the summer. It is very clear. And he's playing with such great purpose this season. And again, instead of being rewarded for that, he's been punished by Steve Kerr. And that's the kind of thing that can kill the confidence of a player like Quinten Post. Kerr, due to his obsession with these tiny guys on the team that are not that effective, is affecting Quinten Post's confidence, his reputation, his potential earnings as a player, because his minutes keep getting screwed around. There's no way this guy can consistently put up numbers and show the league what he's made of. You're affecting this man's career. This should be a darling story situation. The guy being a 56th overall pick and making this type of impact is supposed to be an amazing story. But under Steve Kerr, the guy is getting buried, and is really disgusting and vile. Ironically, he did the exact same thing to Trayce Jackson-Davis in his rookie year. Trayce was amazing in his rookie year, and offensively, he actually looked amazing because he had guys who could actually create plays and make passes like Chris Paul and Klay Thompson. So in Trayce's rookie year, for a chunk of it, he was like top 5 in field goal percentage. He was at 70%. So if you're a big on the Warriors, you're just gonna get screwed by Steve Kerr sideways. Anyway, the starting lineup was Pods, Will Richard, Moses Moody, Guy Santos, and TJD. And unfortunately, this unit has never played together and they just couldn't find any rhythm together. There was not a lot of chemistry and they were just clanking everything. A poor showing for Guy Santos. I really wish they went with a bigger lineup where TJD is at power forward and Quinten Post is at the center spot. And then as the quarter goes by, you can have Guy Santos come off the bench and replace either of TJD or Post. So one of the centers sits. Now they go to a little bit of a smaller lineup, keep one of the centers on the floor, and then you start staggering bodies that way. Jackson Rowe should have been in rotation. The guy is 6'8". The Warriors need more size. And in this game, there's 9 guys in rotation. 6 of them are guards. 5 of them are 6'4" or under. Tough way to try to win any game. So ultimately, the Warriors are only able to score 20 points in that first quarter. 29-20 is the score in the first quarter. And Pods, man, I just don't think that Pods is a viable player for the Warriors anymore. The more I think about this, the more I feel like he's just going to be a detriment that the Warriors are going to have to overcome if he's a major part of the Warriors rotation going into the playoffs. The situation doesn't really make sense to me. Melton should be the backup point guard for this team and possibly play a closer role next to Steph Curry. And in that scenario, what is the need for Pods? Pods in his 3rd year, I feel like he's really struggling. The stats will tell you essentially he's the exact same player as he was last season. But on nights like tonight where Steph Curry is missing and Pods is the primary playmaker, go-to guy, point guard, all these things, the playmaking is non-existent. The guy can barely create anything for himself, let alone create something for somebody else. 34 minutes in this game. For a chunk of this game, he had 1 assist and 3 turnovers. He picked up 1 extra assist as the game was ending and the Warriors had already lost the game. So he had 2 assists and 3 turnovers for the game. I've never seen a supposed point guard who can create less than this guy does. There are all these various moments throughout the game where there are opportunities for a pass just staring at him and he doesn't make the pass. He just keeps dribbling and holding the ball and the ball is just glued to his hands. Point guards are supposed to set up teammates so that they can get good shots on the floor. And Pods doesn't make anybody better when he's on the floor with them. Part of the reason why I don't like seeing TJD play next to Pods is because Pods never throws him any passes that are available to him. One of the worst pick and roll passers I've ever seen out of the guard position. Like, look at this play. You drew 2, TJD is cutting, get him the ball right here. But no, while Pods is stinking up the floor, creating no offensive opportunities for anybody, Pat Spencer is completely outplaying him coming off the bench. Pat Spencer in this game had 13 assists and 2 turnovers. The guy is a plus 10 in a game they lost by 14 points. So if Pods is getting outplayed by Pat Spencer, do the Warriors really need to hold on to this guy beyond this season? Next season, he's going to be eligible for a new contract. God knows what he's going to ask for, but it's not going to be worth paying him more than what they're paying him now. Meanwhile, Steve Kerr is absolutely obsessed with him and wants to get him in there no matter what, no matter who's available, no matter what big bodies are there to make your defense better. He's just going to throw Pods out there all day and night. And this situation is getting more frustrating the more I watch it. And I think it's looking clearer and clearer that the Warriors need to get off of Pods, Buddy Hield, and Jonathan Kuminga. These 3 guys need to be traded off this team when all said and done. We all know that they have way too many guards on this roster. Some of them need to come off, and I think Hield and Pods are the perfect pieces that need to come off this team. Even no handles Moses Moody made more plays than Pods in this game. And I don't know what the deal is with Moody. This was a disappointing game. At least Pods chucked his way to 20 points. Moses Moody, you're supposed to be one of the primary scorers in a night like this, and he scored 9 points. Very disappointing and frustrating game from him. Guy Santos, given an opportunity to start in this game, did not show up nearly enough. 1 of 7 from the field, generally not effective enough. Will Richard, nothing. Did absolutely nothing in this game. A minus 25 in 18 minutes of play. I like Will Richard. I think he has a bright future with this team. But for this season, I'm over it. He shouldn't be in the starting lineup over Quinten Post. No way, no how, not even close. To me, the Warriors are 2 tiers below what they should be by starting Will Richard over Quinten Post. Steve Kerr, the charlatan, needs to cut it out, put Quinten Post into that starting lineup, and start fixing this season and this situation because they're not going anywhere. They are a mediocre team. And somehow Kerr has found a way to ruin a Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler duo for a full season where they were supposed to dominate. And my God, Buddy Hield is just such an abomination on the floor. I just can't stand to have to watch this guy play the game of basketball on a nightly basis. And for some reason, Steve Kerr just loves to play these guys that are not good and not play anything close to championship caliber basketball. He was obsessed with guys like Damian Lee, Chris Chiozza, Corey Joseph, Brad Wanamaker. These guys that shouldn't be getting rotational minutes are getting rotational minutes, and they're getting rotational minutes over other guys that should actually be in rotation. Anyway, in this particular game, you got to give credit to everybody that was involved either way, because the Warriors made this a game and mucked things up and did a really good job defensively. There was an actual center on the floor at all times, be it TJD or Quinten Post. And despite the fact that they were constantly being asked to protect 4-guard lineups, in tonight's game in particular, the Warriors played a lot of zone defense and they were really crisp. They were really sharp and they were rotating really well. After allowing the Heat to score 29 points in the first quarter, the second quarter, they only allowed 20 points. And then in the third quarter, they allowed 23 points. So their defense was really working and Quinten Post started to get it going on the offensive end of the floor. He was a threat from both the inside and the outside in this game. Super efficient, 19 points on 13 shots. And at some point in the third quarter, the Warriors actually took the lead. An incredible turnaround and things were looking very interesting because the Warriors were turning the Heat into jump shooters. They were not able to get anything inside the paint area. TJD and Post were constantly in there and just deterring guys from getting whatever they wanted inside that paint area near the rim. And this is why I always want the Warriors defense to be fortified when Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and everybody else is playing, because as long as your defense is good, the offense will take care of itself. Steph Curry is an offense by himself. Jimmy Butler can be an offense by himself when Steph Curry's off the floor. If you can give them enough enough defensive support, they are going to take care of you offensively. And the problem has been that Steve Kerr has been throwing out lineups out there that don't protect them defensively at all. And that's why any team in the league has been able to beat the Warriors. The Warriors have lost to a pathetic Pacers team missing a bunch of rotational players. They lost to a Bucks team missing Giannis. They lost to a Blazers team that has a losing record by running Jimmy Butler at the center spot in that game. They lost to a pathetic Kings team missing Sabonis, Zach LaVine. I mean, think about this for a second. If they were able to take care of just 3 of those teams, not even asking for 4, just 3 of those games. If they won those games that they should have won, the Warriors right now would have a record of 12-5 instead of 9-8. That's the difference between winning 3 games versus losing 3 games. Tonight in this game, the Warriors clearly showed their capability and capacity to hold teams and prevent them from scoring by consistently having a center on the floor that isn't named Draymond Green. Now, if you add a Draymond Green on top of one of those centers, it brings the Warriors defense to the next level. If the Warriors can hang in there against a team like the Heat on the road without Jimmy Butler or Steph Curry, because they made sure a center was on the floor at all times, think of what the Warriors can do if they do the same tactic with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry available to them. As a matter of fact, as far as I can remember, every time the Warriors starters got to play with Quinten Post, they've won just about every single one of those minutes. That is why Quinten Post is second on the team in plus minus this season. I believe that that move alone, putting Quinten Post into the starting lineup, can help the Warriors do something crazy, like run off 10 straight wins or something like this. But it has to be done consistently. Quinten Post cannot be getting 10, 15 minutes per game. He needs to be a starter, and he needs to start approaching something like 30 minutes per game as an actual starter for this team. And the Warriors really need to scrap the small lineups once and for all. I don't know what else Quinten Post has to do. Tonight, obviously, later, especially in that fourth quarter, the Warriors completely broke down. Bam Adebayo took over down the stretch. The Warriors were very discombobulated, and Quinten Post was having an amazing game into that third quarter, but then he suffered a cut on his lip and he had to go to the locker room, and by the time he came back later in that fourth quarter, you can kind of see he was a little too anxious to get back into the game, and a few plays just didn't go his way. He started turning the ball over. The team collectively got pretty wild. They turned the ball over 15 times in the second half of this game, and they ended up completely unraveling down the stretch. They allowed 38 points in that fourth quarter to the Heat. The final score wasn't necessarily indicative of how things went for a majority of this game. Again, major shout out to all the players that were on the floor, putting up a major fight, playing great defense, and just showing a lot of grit, showing competitive spirit. These things matter. But even in the midst of those things, Buddy Hield is just such a terrible basketball player. He's such a bad defender. He gets blown by so regularly, commits absolutely awful and terrible fouls, playmaking all over the map. 3 assists, 4 turnovers, absolutely atrocious shooting. 7 of 20 from the field, 4 of 15 from the 3-point line. This guy has been absolutely awful for this Warriors team all season long. Literally 20% of the season has gone by, and he's been awful for 95% of it. Although things look relatively bleak right now, the Warriors have a 5-game homestand coming up, another big test coming up. Can they take care of home court? It is the one thing that they have been able to do. They are 5-0 at home. There are some pretty good teams in this 5-game home trip, including the Rockets and the Thunder. And again, I believe the Warriors are capable of beating any team as long as their defense is set. And the best way to set their defense is to have more size, a center that can anchor the paint area, and stop using a bunch of senseless 3-guard and 4-guard lineups. Although I would not hold my breath in terms of hoping that Steve Kerr will stop doing these things somehow. But if he can at least limit it, and if he can at least scrap this small starting lineup crap and just have a center in there for a majority of the game, the Warriors would look like 3 times the team that they've been so far. Anyway, the scheduling has been very weird. Their next game coming up is on Friday, and then they're done for the week. So hopefully they'll be able to take care of the Blazers at home. Hopefully Steve Kerr will not run Jimmy Butler at the center spot again. And hopefully we can watch this team get back on the right track and not have to be so down in the dumps. It's been a pretty rough 17 games so far, but there is a lot of season left. We just have to keep our hopes alive because there is a winning unit on this team. It's just a matter at this point of when this team is actually going to start running the correct lineups out there. That's all I got for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back on Friday night, and hopefully the energy will be much better then. Thank you so much for watching. Steph Curry is the GOAT.